Hello again. And welcome to our SAP MDG Business Partner Data Model Enhancement tutorial in the Master Data Governance. In our previous custom data model tutorial, we've seen how to improve the data model, add any custom entities and attributes to the data model. The data model that we enhanced was based on flex mode, where all entities and attributes would be saved in our MDG persistence database only, after successful processing. Today, we are going to learn how we can create custom attributes and entity in the standard BP data model in the flex mode for any organizational need. After this video tutorial, you will be able to enhance Business Partner Genil model for any kind of your business requirement. Here, we will go with standard approach provided by SAP AG. In the standard process, we will learn how to extend MDG supplier or customer data model by a new entity type using flex option. Let's first understand about Genil model. In simple words, Genil model is an intermediate layer in between staging and active area. Genil model is only used for business partner data model when we extend standard data model with any custom attributes or entities. This is because BP data model has customer and vendor information underlying into it. Other standard data models, like finance and material, MDG system automatically generates and activate the Genil model in the back end. So, there is not additional manual action required. Now we shall start with our objectives of this tutorial. We will create a new entity type in flex mode for BP data model. We will cover UI modeling of BP data model in our upcoming tutorials. Here, we have standard business partner entity type BP_header. We will add one custom entity type, ZInfoRec, which will only be used as an entity type along with an attribute purchase block. We will also create another entity type, Matner, for the material, that will be used as entity and attributes. So here, we have to create a new entity type, ZInfoRec. Creation of entity is same as what we have done for custom and material data model. For our tutorial, we have already created this entity for demonstration. Otherwise, you can simply click on the New Entity button on the top left side of the screen and fill the same details, which we will discuss now. Now let's check what properties we need to maintain for this entity type. The name of entity is ZInfoRec. The storage type of this entity is Type 4, changeable via other entity type generated database table. We're going to use the same concept, what we have discussed for material extension, for the storage type. Here, we will create ZInfoRec as Type 4 and material entity as Type 3. So again, data element input field will be blank, as we do not want this entity to behave like an attribute. Now let's understand the concept of active area. Active area is the MDG database, which holds our final processed record. In BP data model, we have 4 kinds of active area. 2 of them are for Type 2 entity type of customer and vendor entity type, as you can see on your screen. In almost all the standard BP data model entity types or attributes, active area has been used as partner. Likewise for material, we can see that the active area of the data model is material. In the finance data model, we usually do not define any active area, as all the data has to go to the ECC finance tables. Moreover, all the custom fields, what we can expect to get added into the finance data model, would be flex type entities or attributes. For all custom entity types or attributes, we should use MDG as our active area. So this is the reason why, in our business partner data model, in flex mode, we have used the active area as MDG. This you can see on your screen. So, now we are clear about the concept of active area. For all custom entities or attributes that we have created previously, in custom or data models, we need to provide active area as MDG. Now, let's provide the descriptions as purchase info record. We will discuss about structure and table in some time in this current tutorial for better understanding. Now let's create an attribute in the entity type. You can click on New Entries on the top left of the screen and can provide the details as we are going to discuss now. So now, let's select our attributes as ZZ Pure Block. Here, we have just provided the data element and descriptions, as you can see on the screen. Now let's go for another entity type that we have mentioned in our objective is material. In our example, we have created Smitner for material type entity. Now, let's fill the storage type and validity. Data element we can use as standard field material. Now, the very important point to note here is, we will not provide active area for this entity type. This field will only play a role as catalog agent, and the data will not get flowed down to the ECC system. Now, let's provide the description as material number. So again, this entity type will behave as an entity type and as an attribute. If we go inside this entity, we can see that we have no entries maintained for the attribute. Once you maintain these information, click on Save and your information will get saved. Ignore any errors or warning at this stage. So this is about entity type, ZInfoRec. Let's maintain the relationships. Here in our example, we need two relationships. First one is leading relationships between BP_header and ZInfoRec. Second one is in between material and ZInfoRec. Creation of relationship is same as how we have created in our data model extension. If you have not watched our data model extension tutorial yet, please watch it now to get more information. You can see on the screen our first relationship BP_header. The relationship type we have maintained as leading relationship. Cardinality should be maintained as 1 to n. The description we can provide as the relationship in between the BP header data and the info record. The another relationship we have to create is in between material and info record. Let's give a name as ZMatner. The from entity would be Smitner. The entity type in our case would be info record. The relationship type we have maintained as qualifying relationship. Cardinality should be maintained as 1 to n. Now save your relationship data and activate your data model. Once data model is activated, you need to adjust the staging area. You need to execute the program usmd_adjust_staging in the transaction code SE38 and choose BP data model and execute. This activity we must perform as we did in custom and data model adjustment. We can visualize the business partner data model and check our custom entities and attributes. Please click on Visualize Data Model push button after selecting BP data model, as you can see on your screen. Here, in the next screen, we can see that our entity type ZInfo record has been added in BP data model. We can see the details of our custom entity type and all the attributes that we have created so far. First one, BP header, is in leading relationships with ZInfo record. The second one, Smitner, is in qualifying relationships with ZInfo record. And the third one is purchase block, which is just as attribute added in ZInfo record. This is the general visualization screen to visualize our any data model. Now, we need to verify if our structures are added into the staging area. To check this, let's go to Transaction at SE38 and execute the report USMD_data_model. Here, we need to provide BP data model and execute. We can see that Z info record has been added into BP_header entity type. Double-click on Check Table, and we can see all the entries which we have created. In the next step, we need to generate our data model specific structure. Let's go to Data Modeling and click on the Generate Data Model Specific Structure. Select the data model as BP and click on Structure. This very important point, note that, in our current example, our entity type is custom, and so we need to create a new entry for our info record entity type. We need to add all the structures which we would like to use for our processing. For now, we will add UI structure and another one for mapping. Once you select the entries from drop-down, all the predefined information will appear. However, we need to provide package name where we want to store the information. For our example, we will save in local package. But you can create your own package in transaction code SE80 and use here to save your data. Now select both the records and click on Generate Selected Structure button. Once the structure gets generated, click on OK button. We can verify our created structure in transaction code SE11. Select the Data Type Radio button and search for available structure, ZXX Info Record. Select the option, Search for Structure, and click OK. On the screen, we can see our structure for mapping and field property. Let's first check the mapping structure. So here we can see that we have BP header, purchase block, and material attribute. Now let's verify for UI field property structure. Here as well, we can see that we have BP header, purchase block, and material attribute. So now our structures are well generated into the MDG persistence database. With this generation, our data model part for BP data model is now completed. Now we need to extend our Genil model for the business partner. For Genil model, we can use the transaction Genil_model_editor or Genil_model_browser. So let's run the transaction Genil_model_browser and hit enter. Here, we need to first understand what's the difference between component and enhancement. In component, we copy the entire Genil model and then modify the copied Genil model based on our business need. In case of enhancements, we apply the implicit enhancement on the standard Genil model. We do not create any copy of the Genil model. Rather than, we directly enhance the standard Genil model. Here, we are going to discuss and use business partner BUPA Genil model. In real-time business scenario, every business has their own unique business structure and processes irrespective of their industries. This is the reason they need to customize their business need based on their business requirements. So, let's now enhance our BUPA Genil model. In our tutorial example, we have created an enhancement, Z info rec. While creating this enhancement, we need to provide super enhancement information as bupa_CUSP. Here, CU is for customer, and SP is for supplier or vendor. You can check in the component setting information, we have component name as bupa, and implementation class name as CL_BP_Genil_bupa. Once you enter the details, you can save the data. Now let's check the dependent objects. On left-hand side window, expand dependent objects. Right-click on dependent objects, and select the option, Create Dependent Object. Give the object name as Info Record ZInfoRec. Here you can see that ZInfoRec dependent object has been created. Here we need to provide 3 main information. First one is key structure. Second one is attribute structure. And the third one is the root object. Attribute structure is our PP or mapping structure that we have generated before. We can just put the same name here in the attribute structure. Root object, we need to provide it as BP_root. Please note that this root object name is case sensitive. So please put the name as shown on the screen. The key structure is custom key structure that we have created. We can verify our structure in the transaction SE11. Click on Display. Here on the screen, we can see that this structure has Business Partner ID and the material number field. Please provide the details for component type as shown on the screen. This are standard information, which is provided by the SAP. So we need to add this same structure in the dependent object key information. Next, we need to provide generic structure for our custom entity type. To get this information, we need to go for T-code, MDG IMG, and look for our created custom entity type, ZInfoRecord. Select the entity type, and click on the Detail Overview button. Now you can see that the structure name has been populated. Remember, this is not the field property UI structure. This entity type will extract the data from this structure. This is required in BP data model. In the case of data model, we don't have to provide this information. Now let's go back to our Genil model editor. Here, as soon we provide structure details and save the dependent objects, it will appear in our dependent object hierarchy. Now, we can verify these details on the key structure added in the dependent object. So as we have seen, our key structure contains the BPGU ID information and the material number. The other UI structure contains BP header, material number, and purchase block. Apart from that, we have additional information for relationships that we need to maintain here, as we did for BP data modeling. Let's define the relationship for our Genil model. Right-click on Relationship, and click on Create Relation. Provide the custom relationship name. For our tutorial example, we have provided as ZBP2InfoRec. We can see the enhancement name details of the enhancements, like description. In the basic setting, we have component name as bupa, and the relationship name, which we have provided just now. Next step is to connect our BP data model with our Genil model. To perform that, we need to run the transaction SM34 for view cluster maintenance. On the input screen, we need to provide standard view cluster name BC_MDG_BS_Genil_C and click on Display. Here we can see the details for component model customization. The standard component name as BUPA, object type as bus 1006, and external object name as BP_root. Select a line, and double-click on Component, Genil Node Customization, on the left side of the screen. Here in the input screen, we need to add our external object name as ZInfoRec, and entity type as ZInfoRec, for the component of BUPA. Here, the entity type name should belongs to data model, and the external object name should belongs to Genil model. Now just save our changes. This is how we connect the Genil model object with data model entity type. Now, you should be able to enhance Business Partner BP Data Model and Genil Model in the SAP Master Data Governance. You should now be able to build the relationships between Custom Business Partner Entity Type and Genil Model Dependent Object as well. We will understand the UI configuration of Genil Model in our UI modeling tutorials. In our next tutorial, we will understand the concept of CVI, that is Customer and Vendor Integration, in BP Data Model. This would be really interesting, and we will see step-by-step configuration and implementation of MDG CVI model. Now I am sure this is so easy for you to understand and make use of our concepts. We have developed step-by-step process for all functional and technical e-learning videos. This will help you to learn quickly in the best way, and you can start implementing your learning with us immediately. Please do not forget to watch our next video tutorials on Customer Vendor Integration Model. To get complete knowledge on SAP MDG Business Partner Data Model concepts and training, visit our website www.mysapskills.com and find more details. Please subscribe our YouTube channel for all latest updates on learning videos. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and stay tuned with our latest news and broadcast. Links are given below in the descriptions. Thanks for watching.